All right, so this week we're going to start on the side glass, get that all, try to get that all engineered into the doors using the new window regulators from the Challenger. The first things first though, I went ahead and put in the track that holds the weather stripping against the roof and down the A-pillars so that I could fit up these are just mock-up vent windows that the owner brought me. And as I suspected, they're going to have to end up being inoperable. These little handles that opened up the vent windows, they ran into the side of the dashboard, so they had to be cut off. Anyway, so I've just been fooling around, getting all the brackets in there and adjusting these up to where they close good against the seal. And I had to fool around with the latch again a little bit, because once you've got a little bit of tension with the rubber seal, you know, the door starts to want to push out a little bit, so I had to tighten up the latch a little bit to get it to line up with the body. Okay, I got to see which one of these is going to work out best. This is the Challenger Regulators. What's good about these is the fact that they grasp the glass and they have their own stop adjusters, so no additional hardware has to be added to get the glass to stop on the upstroke, because it's built right into the track here, this little tab here, and then this little adjuster. Plus it has a wide footprint that can grasp the glass really well. And I've got it constrained right now. This wants to be wider, and these cables are kind of fighting me now, so that's the issue I have with this thing here. Also, in order to get it in the door, I might have to cut the bottom of the door like I did on my car in order to accommodate this area here, because just the way this thing lays out. So I have a second option, which is this is the front door regulator for an 06 Charger. That's the one that came out of the donor car for my project. Now these are meant for glass that's got its own guide rails, which this car does, obviously. But this goes into a fully framed door, so it depends on the frame of the door to stop the glass and put resistance to the motor to get it to stop. So it doesn't have any built-in stops, so I'd have to go with a stop attached to the bottom of the glass, which is not a big problem. It's also smaller side to side, which is nice because I don't have to try and fight the cables to get the cables to, you can see I've got all this excess cable here that really wants to fight. It might mess with the operation. So I'm going to try these out and see how they go. And it's got a much smaller clamping area also, which has a little cradle in it, a rubber cradle. This one is designed to bolt through the glass, so the cradle's all the way down at the bottom, so I'd have to make some kind of an adaptation here for the glass to sit on top of this. So, you know, this one might give me a little bit more throw, and I might not have to adapt, cut out the bottom of the door to use this one. So this one may be the way I'm going to go. We'll see how they fit. All right, using the Challenger setup is still a possibility, but it's crowded. It's crowded and it's complicated, and it could easily get messed up. I'm going to try to keep things simple. Well, then I went over to this piece, which is a lot smaller. It's a lot simpler. The only problem is that the relationship of how the motor mounts. Okay, this is the Challenger door motor. That's a 6-pin. Connection, because it interfaces with a window position sensor and the door latch, and all kinds of good stuff goes on. It's a 6-pin connector. So I don't know how to reverse the polarity on these motors. Being I can't reverse the polarity on these motors easily, that means that you know, I could, if the motor doesn't mount in the same direction, which it doesn't, it's the opposite of what it mounts over here. You can see this one facing this way, this one facing that way. Two different motors. One's for a right, one's for a left. Okay, you see the mount points, 1, 2, 3 here. Where is it? Yeah, there's like this one right here and right there. Okay, so bottom line is since I can't, if I mount this motor over here, it's going to be in the wrong direction relative to the buttons in the car. In other words, up will be down, down will be up. and who knows what other kind of complications there'll be with the interface with the window location module. So with that in mind, you see I've got an option C, which is a pretty simple deal. It's just this is for a rear window on a 600 or a Charger. It's basically straight up and down. Problem is my window goes up and down like this, so the where it grasps the window right here has to be modified, and that's not easily done because it's got a lot of nylon stuff, so I'm gonna have to be do some kind of a nut and bolt setup, because if I apply some heat to this, it's going to melt those nylon glides. So it's just a matter of altering the way this thing pivots. It's got to kick over at an angle here, and determining which one of these is going to be proper for raising and lower the window. I've got the Challenger motor attached to this regulator right now, so this is going to lift from the middle of the glass, and I'm going to try and determine with the harness whether this is the right one or if it's the one with the motor in the opposite direction. Either way, they're both very simple. They have two mounting points, and they just shove the glass straight up and down. There's not a lot of cabling except for this one little area here. But anyway, option C is in play. We'll see how that works. All right, with the Challenger motor mounted to this piece and the door buttons in hand, so this is the corresponding up and down motion. So that's the correct motion for that motor, and so this is the proper regulator that I want to use on this side. So with that said, I'll just turn this off. Anyway, now what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and mount the regular 2-pole motor to this, so that I can put it in the door, and I could very easily use this, have a battery set up over there that I could just hook up and reverse the polarity, so that I could just check the motion. I don't have to keep fooling with the car. It's off, the car's offline. All right, on to the next move. So what I got here is this is a tracing of the actual glass, so what I've done is I've lined up this window regulator, the vertical part of the window regulator, with the edge of the glass here, which would be like that. Okay, and I've drawn a parallel line up from the bottom so that I could put my glass graspers, that's funny. Anyway, glass graspers, parallel with the bottom of the glass. So what I've done here is the first one, which was this, the low side, I just split it and I pivoted it out until it was level with this line here. You can see I've got a piece of 1/4 inch Lexan just clamped in there so that I hold these two graspers at the same level. I don't want one to be kicked over in any direction, because it'll put a pressure point on the glass when you tighten it down. So you got to keep that completely flat. So got that piece of Lexan in there. The second one I had to cut completely free. This is the high side, and I put these small gussets. Now I've got to go through the laborious task of tacking it and cooling it, tacking it and cooling it, so that I don't melt all of this Delrin around here. It's very close. So that's the first one. I'll be working on that, see if that works. All right, with the glass grabbers all modified up to match the angle of the window, it's time to start, see if I can't put it in. I have the glass already in the car. It's being held up artificially. So we're where we need to be that way, and front to back as far as the tilt is concerned, and across the top. So with it set in place, we'll see what happens here. All right, with a quick run up and down inside the door attached to the glass, which required about 15 hands to balance everything, determined that these ears that hold the glass have to be dropped down. This is where it stopped, and I had this much more play, as far as the up is concerned. It bottomed out before the glass was down, flush with the top of the door. So, I couldn't go down any further without, this is the wheel at the bottom. There's nothing to cut off here. I mean, there's a pulley there. So that's sitting on the bottom of the door. So the only thing I can do is drop the glass down in these two holders, drop the two holders down. This is the amount that I have to play with, which is about 1 1/16", which should get it pretty close. It might stick up maybe 1/4 of an inch by the time I'm done. But remember, these came out of a modern Charger, rear doors, much taller door. So, I have the same issue with the other regulators. They're long and they have to be accommodated in various ways. But at least with this one, I have the option of moving the ears down a little bit, whereas the others, everything's fixed, and I have to cut a hole in the bottom of the door in order to fit those in. So we'll make these modifications and sneak up on it until it works the way we want it to. Alright, so I moved the ears down on this mechanism to try and maximize the throw of this device, get the most range out of it. And now I've cut a little stop out of this material called Delrin. It's like a nylon. It's the same stuff that this is manufactured out of. You can get this in any kind of, like 3/4 by. You can get it in sheets. You can get it in any dimension you want. It's millable, sandable, cuttable with the regular woodworking tools. But it's like a real slick, self-lubricating stuff that you can make glides out of or anything like that. Anyway. This stuff can be purchased, from places like McMaster Car out of Atlanta, Georgia. Anyway, and you can see it bounces too. Anyway, this piece will go right in here, and I'll through bolt that, and that'll create a stop, because this just wants to run off the rails because it doesn't have any natural stop except the glass itself out of the car that it came out of. So I'm going to stop the device right in its tracks right here at its maximum limit. Alright, so I've got this thing just sitting here. Believe it or not, it ended up lining up with one of these existing bolt holes here. I've just got it loosened up just a little bit to make sure that it's not pulled too far in this direction here. I don't have any mounting bolts at the top just yet, and I don't have one to mount it here. I just wanted it to kind of be secured in one spot and then just basically self-correct. I got it attached to the glass and I dropped it down to its furthest extent, and right now it's level with the top of the door, so it's doing what I needed to do in that sense. So we're going to just switch these wires over here real quick, and we're going to run it up and see what happens. You'll be seeing this in real time, so if disaster happens. That seems to work pretty good, so pretty happy with that. We'll go on from here. Try to secure this thing so it doesn't twist around. Okay, so what I did here was I put a piece of 5/8 by 5/8 square tubing just to create an area for me to bring a tab over. So I've got 3/16 of an inch tab right here. It's pretty hefty, tied to this tube to keep it from the motor from torquing, and also while the window was in the up position, I cut a little opening here to expose. There's a welded nut in the top and the bottom of this piece. So with that welded nut exposed and everything in its position, I basically cut a U-shaped piece of metal to fit in there that had a hole drilled through it, bolted this bolt to it so it's basically tight up against the piece. Once it was in place, then I welded it up, and then I cut off the excess. That puts this right where it needs to go. And this is fine, just where it is, right in this one location here. So now I've got to take the whole mess out. I've got to add a stop to the bottom here to make sure that that's where it ends up, which is right here, with the glass just above, just peeking above this the top of this door over here. So anyways, it's a whole lot less complicated than what I had to do last time with my car. Of course, my car was a single piece of glass, custom piece of glass. It was 5/16 glass because it was laminated. It was very heavy. and I had to get the Challenger regulators in the door because they were the only ones who were going to work with a piece of frameless glass. So anyway, this is it worked out to be pretty simple. Hopefully this won't interfere too much with you know, where the armrest goes and where the door pull is for opening up the door has to go, the rods that have to cross over this area. I guess we're going to find that out next. Alright, something minor, but still something that had to be done. I took the rod and modified it for the push button here for the lock, so we have the lock mechanism. We can actuate it by the buttons, or it'll actuate by the little solenoid that's down in there. Anyway, thought I'd show you that. Okay, so it might seem a little early to be getting involved with the interior door panel, but it contains the mechanism for pulling the door open, the door handle. So I had to get it up there, position it, see if there was going to be any interference as far as when you close the door, was it going to rub against the seat on this door. I rolled it in as far as I could by creating this flange on the top, which basically is screwed to the back of the armrest itself, and then it comes up and over. That allows me to roll this into the door a little bit, so that's actually kind of into the interior of this door pocket space. So bottom line, it was just a matter of seeing if this was all gonna just fit, and I was able to cut away enough of it that it was just about this goes underneath the dashboard, so I'll have to modify all in here. And of course this shows where the speaker needs to mount, so I was able to keep the grill screen here for that, which I like. It's got the door map pocket still in it. There's a little light that comes down and shines on the handle, and of course it contains all the switches in the armrest, which I had to build all of that custom when I did my car, because I used a 4-door as a donor car, and of course the door inner panels were much smaller, so I took some of the components off of them and then had to build the rest from scratch, the armrest and everything. So I will have to make a scratch build this upper piece, because there's no way that the upper pieces can be worked into this. Basically this door leans in, as we found out early on in the build. So unlike the Challenger, which stands straight up, so as you progress up, this whole panel is in far enough that it would block all the switches and everything, so that wasn't going to work. Anyway, the main reason I got involved with it is to re-engineer this pull rod right here that actuates the door lever that opens the door from the inside. And you can see down in here that I have it, that little yellow tab, I have it cut the length and put in there. So now it actuates the door without interfering with anything that's in there, the window motor, any of that stuff. So unlike the other aspects of this door that I was pretty confident with, I had to make sure everything here was going to clear. So I haven't started anything on the other side of the door yet. I just went ahead and got this to this point to where this is functional now. So now I can hop over to the other side and I can establish all of the other things. And I'll be confident that all my bracing will be in the right spot and I won't have anything that's going to interrupt it. But that's where we're at right now. And I think I'm going to leave this week's video right here, because most of the rest of my week is going to be spent on the other side of the car doing exactly what I've done right here. Thanks for watching.